Hey there, you retro junkies. You got the Retro Viking back once again. Today's video, we're going to be stepping away from the Nintendo for a little while because today we're getting into Sega. Yes, we're going to be discussing some of the most violent games ever released by Sega, whether it be for the Sega Genesis, the Sega CD, or even the Sega 32X. Now, when we talk about violent video games, it's going to be a little bit different than what you may see today. Some of the games we're going to be discussing in this video, most of them existed before there was an ESRB rating system. In fact, one or two of them might be responsible for the ESRB rating system. So, having said that, keep in mind that the level of violence and graphic content in video games has evolved significantly since the 1990s. And what was considered violent back then might not seem as extreme by today's standards. Additionally, opinions on what constitutes the most violent games can vary from person to person. So having said that, here we go. Before we get into the rest of the video, I just wanted to take a moment to ask you a favor. If you're not already subscribed, and after looking at my analytics, most of you aren't, please take this quick second to give the video a like. Then click that subscribe button and check that bell to receive notifications for new video releases. It really helps the channel out a ton when doing battle against the YouTube algorithm. Thanks so much. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program. Number 10. General Chaos on the Genesis offers a unique take on real-time strategy, with a heavy dose of comical violence. The game's pixelated graphics and quirky animations make the battles between the red and blue teams surprisingly entertaining, despite the simplicity of its mechanics. While the violence is cartoonish in nature, with soldiers tossing grenades and engaging in fistfights, it's all presented in a lighthearted manner that doesn't take itself too seriously. General Chaos manages to strike a balance between strategic depth and over-the-top action, resulting in an enjoyable and memorable gaming experience that fans of retro titles should appreciate. Number 9. Bloodshot for the Mega Drive delivers an adrenaline-pumping experience with its intense violence. The game immerses players in a gritty, dystopian world where they can indulge in satisfyingly visceral combat. From explosive gunfights to brutal melee takedowns, the game doesn't hold back from the action. While the level of violence might not be for everyone, it undeniably adds to the game's dark and immersive atmosphere, making it a must-play for fans of hardcore action games who can appreciate the raw intensity of Bloodshot's gameplay. Number 8. Chaken the Forever Man is an action-packed title that certainly doesn't shy away from violence. The game immerses players in a dark and gritty world where they step into the shoes of the immortal warrior Chaken, and violence is an integral part of his journey. The combat mechanics are fluid, and the variety of weapons and enemies make for intense and satisfying battles. While the violence can be graphic at times, it fits well within the game's macabre aesthetic and serves to highlight the grim challenges Chaken faces in his quest for redemption. If you can handle the brutality, Chaken delivers a solid and engaging experience for fans of action-adventure titles on the Sega Genesis. Number 7! Night Trap was released for the Sega CD in 1992. It sparked controversy upon its debut due to its portrayal of violence and the perception that it encouraged harm towards women. In the game, players must protect a group of young women from vampiric intruders by trapping them in various rooms of a house. While the violence in Night Trap is relatively mild by today's standards, with no explicit gore or graphic visuals, its controversial reputation largely stems from the provocative themes and the sexualized portrayal of its female characters. It's a relic of its time, serving as a noteworthy example of the early video game industry's struggle with mature content and censorship, making it more historically significant than enjoyable by modern gaming standards. Number 6! Eternal Champions offers a unique take on violence in the video game genre. While it certainly embraces the typical martial arts combat seen in many games of its era, it stands out by incorporating a diverse roster of characters and a darker, more elaborate backstory for each fighter. The violence, while essential to the gameplay, is surprisingly tasteful, focusing on skillful moves and special attacks rather than gratuitous gore. This approach allows the game to maintain an engaging and entertaining combat experience without crossing into excessive brutality, making it a standout title in the Genesis library for those who enjoy martial arts-based fighting games with a touch of creativity and restraint. Number 5! Alien 3 for the Sega Genesis delivers a visceral and intense gaming experience with its portrayal of violence. The game captures the grim atmosphere of the film, plunging players into the claustrophobic corridors of a desolate prison infested with xenomorphs. The violence is portrayed with gritty authenticity as players fend off hordes of relentless aliens using an arsenal of weapons, emphasizing the survival horror elements. While the graphics may be dated by today's standards, the game's commitment to delivering a gruesome and heart-pounding alien-slaying experience ensures that fans of the franchise will find the violence both challenging and satisfying, making it a must-play for those seeking an adrenaline-fueled gaming experience. Number 4! RoboCop vs. the Terminator for the Sega Genesis delivers a visceral and action-packed gaming experience that doesn't shy away from violence. The game expertly captures the gritty and dystopian worlds of both franchises, and the violence within serves as a central element, staying true to the source material. From engaging in intense firefights with a wide array of weapons, to witnessing brutal takedowns of enemies and epic boss battles, the game immerses players in a relentless battle between man and machine. While the level of violence might not be for the faint of heart, it undoubtedly adds to the game's overall atmosphere and appeal for the fans of these iconic sci-fi franchises, making it a must-play for those seeking an adrenaline-fueled gaming experience. Number 3! Doom for the Sega 32X delivers an experience of violence that has become iconic in the gaming world. The game's relentless onslaught of demons and monsters, coupled with its fast-paced gameplay and satisfying arsenal of weapons, creates a thrilling and cathartic gaming experience. The pixelated graphics, while dated by today's standards, still manages to convey a sense of dread and chaos in the game's dark and foreboding environments. While the violence may be extreme, it's an integral part of Doom's identity and serves as a testament to the game's enduring impact on the first-person shooter genre. Number 2! Splatterhouse 2 for the Sega Genesis delivers an unapologetically brutal experience when it comes to violence. From the moment you step into the shoes of the protagonist, Rick, you're plunged into a nightmarish world filled with grotesque creatures and nightmarish environments, where blood splatters and body parts fly with every swing of your weapon. While the gore factor may not be for everyone, it undeniably adds to the game's dark and unsettling atmosphere, creating an intense and heart-pounding gameplay experience that keeps you on the edge of your seat. If you have a taste for over-the-top horror and don't mind a healthy dose of gore, Splatterhouse 2 delivers on the promise of gruesome thrills. Number 1. The violence in the Mortal Kombat series is nothing short of legendary. With its pixelated graphics and over-the-top fatalities, the game pushed the boundaries of acceptable violence in video games during its time. The spine-ripping, skull-shattering, and blood-spurting combat moves were both shocking and exhilarating, contributing significantly to the game's notoriety. While the game may seem dated by today's standards, the level of violence in Mortal Kombat on the Sega Genesis remains a key part of gaming history, solidifying its place as a groundbreaking and controversial title that paved the way for mature content in the industry. So there you have it. There's 10 violent titles produced by Sega. Were they available on other systems? Some of them, but I chose to include them for Sega because, well, for instance, in the case of Mortal Kombat, with the original one, you didn't get violence on the Super Nintendo version. Sega Genesis was where it needed to be. So, there's probably going to be some titles that you think were pretty ultra-violent for their day as well. Let's hear about them. Make sure you mention them down below in the comments. I would love to hear your suggestions and what you thought were some pretty nasty video games. This is the Retro Viking. Take it easy, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.